Don't just say, 8,000 right, I can manage. No. 5,000 right, I can manage. Yenza into that will work for your budget. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jennifer. I do hope that you stick around by actually clicking that red subscribe button on the bottom. That is if you like the content that I serve in this channel. So today we're going to be looking at the most effective way of actually paying off your credit card. I wanted to focus specifically the credit card because it's different from paying off a student loan or paying off a mortgage bond or paying off a car, paying off any type of loan. A credit card is very different, and it's different because this is money that you constantly have access to. The more that you pay into it, the more money that you have access to it. And so it is very tricky and needs one to fully understand themselves and their behavioral patterns in order to know if they will ever get out of the situation or not. And so I want to share what has worked for me when it comes to paying off a credit card. And these are things that I've done, things that I really vouch for because they have worked for me. And that is because I started with the first thing that I'm going to share with you guys today on this video. But please do know that this video does not constitute as financial advice. It is just me, Jenny on the blog, sharing my own journey and sharing my own experiences with the things that I've done when it comes to my finances. And one of those things is actually paying off one of my credit cards. Now I have one more credit card that is left, but I do have intentions of paying it off without actually, closing it or dealing with it the same way that I did with this other credit card, because the other one was very problematic. And so I'm going to take you through, guys, what are the things that I think that you should think about when you are thinking of paying off a credit card, because this will allow you to actually take good strides or feasible steps towards actually paying off your credit card. The first thing that I did that propelled me to take the decision to say, you know what, I actually want to pay off this credit card because this credit card is an annoyance in my life. The first thing is that I started noticing my behavioral patterns when it comes to my credit card. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, as I said in the beginning, the difference with a credit card from a loan is that you constantly have access to this money. So the more money that you pay into it, the more money that you have access to it. Now, I realized that I am not good with having money just sitting there and it's not fixed. It's just sitting there. It has no goal. Yes, I say that I'm trying to pay it off. But now when things come in my life, things happen, it is the first place that I run to. Sometimes you found that I would be in the shops and then I'll be short of something. I will reach out to my credit card. Sometimes you find that I wanted to buy clothes and I will use my credit card, And so that is where I realized that, when it comes to my behavioral patterns, they are not good when it comes to this credit card. I was so good paying off a loan. So good, disciplined. And the reason why I was disciplined is because it was a debit order. And then once it's a debit order, I no longer have access to that amount. But now the credit card was tricky for me because every time I was paying into it, that meant also that I had money to access in that credit card. Now, where I realized that, I need to actually really close this credit card is when I think I started struggling to pay a good amount. I would pay the minimum, and then by the end of the month, the entire minimum, it will be finished. So I'll be starting from zero. So every month on my credit card, I was starting from zero, paying my way back. Now that affected me because now every time I was paying that minimum, they will take interest twice, because sometimes you find that I will use that money before the bank takes its interest for the month. And so I will pay into it, and then 5 days later I would use all of it. And then what that meant is that when the following month came, the bank will take the first interest rate for the previous month, but then there will still be another interest rate that they have to charge me. But by the time that they have to charge the second interest rate, the money was gone. So that is when I realized that, I really needed to pay off this credit card because it was not a healthy relationship. It was not a healthy relationship at all. It was very toxic and besuzana. Someone was using another and someone was benefiting from the other. Okay, we were both benefiting from each other, but then at the same time, it was just, I had to get out. So what I'm saying, the reason why this is the first point is you need to understand your behavioral patterns. You need to understand how you are when it comes to that credit card. If you're a person that is very disciplined, so let's say for instance, if your minimum payment is 800 rands, you make that 800 rands and you don't go back and touch it. Like the entire month it finishes until you get paid again and you pay again another 800 rands, which is your minimum amount, then that is a good thing, because that means that your relationship with your credit card or with debt is not so bad. So you are a couple of steps ahead. So that is a good thing. Then for you, your next steps will be slightly different. But then if you are a person that whenever you pay into your credit card, you end up using all of that money, then you also need to assess that behavior yourself. And then the next steps, the next things that I'm going to be talking about will kind of help you in terms of how you can get yourself out of it, because that is where I was. So the second thing that I did was, instead of, I was paying my minimum, so my minimum was around 1,800. Sometimes it would be more if it happened that I used the money before the bank took it interest. So sometimes it would be 2,200, 2,100 instead of 1.8. So they will take that amount. So that will be my minimum. Then what I started doing is I started saving extra. So I would save like maybe 1,000, 1,500. But whenever I was saving that extra, I wouldn't pay it into a credit card every month. Because why? I understood my behavioral patterns, understood that the moment that I put that money in there and something comes up, I'm going to use all of that money. Sometimes it wouldn't be instant. Sometimes it would be slow. 400 rands there, 500 rands, 600 rands. The next thing, I'm starting from zero again. And so I decided that I'm not going to pay extra into my credit card. I'm actually going to take all of that money. I'm actually going to take that extra amount and actually save it. Okay, save it and let it accumulate. Let it accumulate. Save it until it gets to the stage where it is enough money for you to pay off your credit card. Now, this is for someone who was like me, who struggled to be disciplined when it comes to a credit card. But if you're a person that is able to pay minimum amounts every month without going back into your credit card and using it, then you need to then put extra. So the amount that I would save extra on the side and not put in my credit card, you can do that because you are disciplined. So if, let's say for instance, you decide that I'm going to put 1,000 rand extra every month in order for me to finish this credit card, then do that. Put it in there on your credit card. Then you'll be fine, because you know that you don't use that credit card. You are very disciplined. Okay. Number 3, save or invest that extra amount. Now, this applies to someone that is not disciplined when it comes to credit card. Someone that is saving their money away from the credit card somewhere else in order for it to accumulate and then pay the lump sum into the credit card. Now, what I would say is save it or invest it in a high yielding interest account. So it can either be your Franc. Now, I like Franc because Franc it's basically investing in shares, however, without choosing the shares yourself. So everything is kind of done for you, but it's still more so of a DIY. But it's not a DIY because you just put money in there and then you do the DIY beginning, and then after that it's automatic. But I love it because you can actually choose your goal. You can say that, okay, my goal is to pay off a certain debt. And then you put the sum of amount and then you start saving towards that every month. And what you have to do is go into your bank, set up a debit order of that amount into Franc in order for it to actually go off every month. Now, the nice thing about this is that as you are busy saving this money, you are actually that money is actually going to work for you. It's actually going to accumulate. You know, I was talking this other time in the office and I was saying that for me, it's very important to invest, because when you're investing, your money works for you. And someone said, your money doesn't work for you anymore. I'm like, what you talking about? Because as far as I know, I'm invested, I'm saving, and my money works for me. So I think that people don't understand it some people don't understand it when you say your money works for you. What that means, the simplest way I can put it for you when I say your money works for you, if you put your 100 rands today in Franc, and then in the next 5 days, your 100 rands has gained you 5 rands. That's money working for you, baby, because that 5 rands, you're not going to get it if you're taking that 100 rands and put it under your mattress or put it in a skaftin or a skokokoko. It was not going to give you that 5 rands. So that is why, for me, I say saving in a high yielding interest rates account, or actually investing, it actually allows your money to work for you. So while you're saving for a debt, the nice thing is that money is earning interest for you, which can actually help you to actually get faster to that goal because you are gaining interest. But obviously, because on Franc, it shares also the fluctuation, because the market is never stable, it's never stagnant. So today it may be up, tomorrow it may be down. But the nice thing is that you know that you are saving, you are investing, and your money is working for you. The other place that you can save your money in is TimeBank. TimeBank also works like similar thing like Franc when you're setting it up. Once you have your account opened, and I'm so happy that when I did my TimeBank video here, a lot of people went out and actually created a TimeBank account. Like, shout out to you. So on your TimeBank, the nice thing is that once you have your current account, once you have that account and that card, then you can go into your app and create a goal save. Then in your goal save, you can create a goal of saying you're paying off debt, and then maybe you can put an amount knowing that, okay, if my credit card is worth 20,000, then that is your goal, and then you start saving towards that. But I would say that because TimeBank is not like Franc where it breaks it down for you, that in order for you to reach 20,000 by this time, you need to save this much. In TimeBank, you have to do that calculation yourself. So what I will say is sit down with yourself and say, okay, if it's 20,000 and I want to make sure that by 2023, I have this fully paid. But let's say, for instance, 2023 December, I want to have this amount saved. Calculate how much it would be. So you take the month and divide by the total amount, and it'll give you a good indication of how much you have to save each month. And then you can see if that is going to be feasible enough for you. If it's not going to be feasible enough for you, you can either decrease it, but then if it's too low, you can increase it, depending on your affordability. But then the nice thing is that you do have freedom to actually do that. Same thing with Franc, you do have freedom to do that. You can increase the time or you can decrease the time. It's up to you. But what I'm saying is choose a place where you know that if I'm going to be saving this money, as I'm saving, it's going to be working, it's going to be generating more interest. And you may find, if the interest if uyinkomo unemfuyo yakho mhlawumbe neenkomo eziwu-2 esifazane nesilisa esibayeni sakho, they mate as they do their thing, zikuzalele iy'nkomo ey'ncane, iy'nkonyana iy'nkomo ey'ncane zikuzalele iy'nkonyane. Ngoba zikuzalele iy'nkonyane, lezi iy'nkonyane nazo ziyakhula. Ezikhula nazo nalaba nomama nobaba lo wenkomo, they continuously, whenever it's that season, there's another, what do they call it ngesingisi, iy'nkonyane, guys. Lokhu kuzalela iy'nkonyane kwenzakala njalo. You no longer have iy'nkomo eziwu-2, usuney'nkomo eziwu-3, zilokhu ikhuphuka iy'nkomo eziwu-4, 5, 6. So interest kanjalo. That's the nice thing about putting your money endaweni where there is high interest rate. That's the nice thing. That's why I like TimeBank. TimeBank has high interest rate compared to any fixed savings that we have currently in this country. And now I've done a video on TimeBank. Please go check it out. I've also done a video on Franc. Please go check it out. Those are the best videos. I feel like they give a good indication on the bank, because the banks or the platforms, because I use them myself. Now, the last one that you can also put your money in is actually Easy Equities. Now, Easy Equities is a DIY investing platform where you can choose. You can literally choose where you want to save your money, where you want to invest actually. But this one, I would say, please be careful, tread very carefully. First thing, I wouldn't put that money into a tax-free savings place, because in equities there are categories. I wouldn't put it under tax-free, and that is because if you put it under tax-free and then by end of 2023 you withdraw that money, that money that you had withdrawn, that money you had saved and withdrawn, is going to be subtracted off the 500 that is it 500 or 550 somewhere there, which is the cut off of tax-free. So normally I don't play around with tax-free. When I put in money there, it's for like long term. But then on the normal one, that's where you can actually go in. You can still in there go and actually invest on things that are safer. Instead of taking your money and say, for instance, I want to buy and go and buy Woolworth shares or buy Capitec shares, buy ShopRite shares, whatever shares that are there. I wouldn't do that. Please note, this is not financial advice. I wouldn't do that in such an amount where I'm not willing to gamble with. I would go with the more safer route. And the safer routes are the baskets, the bundles. The bundles, the nice thing is that you can look at the bundles, see their performance, see how they've been in the last 3 to 5 years, and it will give you a good indication whether you can put that money there for the short term. And then every time when you get paid, you actually invest in those same stocks, and it will split it for you. Every time it will split it according to percentages, so you don't have to sit and think, am I going to buy Capitec, am I going to buy Woolworths, am I going to buy this, am I going to buy this? Instead, you go in a bundle and you buy once. And I also like the Cetrix, the top 40 companies, the dividend one and all the stuff. I like those ones because also it's not just one thing that you're investing on, but you're investing in a cluster of things. And so there is less risk on that because you don't want to put your eggs in one place. So you can't say, okay, I'm willing to save 1,000 every month in order for me to accumulate this 20,000, and then every month you take this 10,000, you buy Capitec shares. That's very risky, very, very risky. So even though this is not financial advice, I wouldn't do that. No. So those are the 3 options that I highly suggest, that I highly recommend, I'm trying to find the most diplomatic word without me saying I'm suggesting it or I recommend. Those are the 3 accounts that I would put my money in if, let's say, for instance, I'm saving for a short term and this thing is for me to pay off my debt. But the most one that I would highly use would be Franc and Time Bank, depending on my risk appetite. Am I willing to withstand the fluctuation? If I'm not, Time Bank. If I'm willing to withstand the fluctuation, then Franc. So that is how I would go about deciding. But please note, this is not financial advice. I don't know how many times I've said this. Woo! South Africa and this financial advice thing. Anyway, we're getting to the end now. Once you have this amount saved, so let's say you have been saving on Time Bank, you have been saving on Franc or Easy Equities, and you have this 20,000 now, and hopefully with a lot of babies now, seziningi inkonyane zalo 20,000 wakho, I would then transfer that money. So now that the 20,000 is there, transfer all of it. I know it's not easy as said and done. It's not just like, it's very painful to take a large sum of money and see it go away, especially paying off a debt. It's like flushing down money in a toilet. It literally feels like that. I've never flushed money down a toilet, but I'm thinking that if I had done that, it will feel the same way. I wouldn't do that anyway. I wouldn't flush my money in the toilet. Like, there will be lack of respect towards money, and you don't want to do that. Once the money is there, transfer it into a credit card, please. Don't wait, don't sit, don't do what. Transfer it into the credit card. All of it, transfer it into a credit card. So if you're owing 20,000, put it in there. If you're owing 30,000, put it in there. Don't second guess yourself. Don't think it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Okay? Then the last step. This is very, Very crucial, you know. And this is for people who are like me, people who are not disciplined when it comes to credit card. You know, after you have paid the 20,000 into your credit card, please rush to the bank. If you have to transfer it while you're in the bank, then do it. It's safer that way. It's safer that way, because if it happens that the bank is at the mall, you won't be tempted to actually go in the shops and buy with that money. So if, let's say, for instance, you have that money and you transferred it already, please rush to the bank. Don't sleep with that money. Don't sit. If you transfer it on the day, go to the bank that day or the first thing the following day. But go to the bank. Either close it, depending on what is your goal. Did you want to pay it off and close it and never have that in your life? Then do that. Close it. But then if you want to then pay it off and then decrease the limit, I would do that as well. So if your credit card was 20,000 and you paid it off and you don't want to close it, rather decrease the limit. Decrease the limit to an amount that you feel you will be able to pay it within a month if you maxed out your credit card. So for me, I know that if I were to decrease my credit card limit, it will be 2,000, because 2,000 is money that I know that if, let's say, I maxed out my credit card, I can actually pay the 2,000 rand. Easy. I can pay it off because I understand my budget. So if you know that, okay, I know that with my salary and my living expenses, I can afford to pay 5,000 rands same time in every month. If it happened that I maxed my credit card, then it will be 5,000. If you know that you are not that good, then you make it less than 2,000. But make sure that you align it to you. If you're going to take that step of decreasing the limit, please make sure that you are wise about it. Don't just say, 8,000 right, I can manage. No. 5,000 right, I can manage. Yenza into that will work for your budget. If you know that normally in your budget, you are able to save about 5,000. That means that if you go and decrease your limit, don't make your limit 5,000. Don't make your limit 5,000. Because you know for a fact that if you are saving only 5,000 per month, you're not going to want to take all of that 5,000 and put it in a credit card, but rather make it at least 2.5. Make it 2,000, but make it into a minimum amount that you feel that if you were to max your credit card, you can pay it off in a month without feeling the itch. Because the itch is real. It is real and it does not play. Okay, so you can do that. It's either you close it or you decrease the limit, but be mindful of why you're taking that decision and if it'll work for you. And if you know that you have been struggling with that credit card for the past 3 to 4 years, rather just close it nje, and just rid yourself of the pain and stress. Close it. Start afresh. Step away from my credit card for a long time. That way you can start taking that money that you had been paying off the credit card and the money that you have been saving extra, and now start working on your emergency fund. Because having an emergency fund is going to keep you away from debt. It's going to keep you away from rushing to the bank and creating another credit card, asking for another money, because you know that you have your nest. You have your nest. So that is what I did. With that being said, I'm going to close off this video right here and say thank you so much for actually indulging me and just watching this video up until the end. If you're still here, you are the day one. You are the number one. Until I see you on the next video. Bye.